Hi, I'm Bill McDonald. St. Joe's healthcare system believes that all citizens need to be informed about the important health issues affecting their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the CAUCUS Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Adler Aphasia Center, empowering, enhancing, and enriching the lives of people with aphasia and their families. The Russell Berry Foundation, Fedway Associates, Inc., J.H. Cohn, Accountants and Consultants. We turn expertise into results. And by PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities.
This is One-on-One.
That's good acting, man.
I get that a lot. I go to Atlantic City all the time, like, are you the guy? I go, no, I'm not.
This is one you can't afford to miss.
They thought that I wouldn't survive it, but I knew I would.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We are coming to you from the beautiful studios, the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. You can see behind us, you can tell, we're right here in Midtown Manhattan. We are pleased to be joined by Barry Bergdoll, who is the Chief Curator of Architecture and Design at the Museum of Modern Art, otherwise known as?
MoMA.
I mean, when people say MoMA, everybody knows, right?
Everybody knows. Everybody wants to get in on the act, you know.
Why? Special place.
That's a good question. It's a special place. You know, it's one of the, I always say there are two places where people want to be and want to be together. They want to be at Starbucks and they want to be at the Museum of Modern Art, even though they can look at all of the work at the Museum of Modern Art online now, with incredible digitization. People want to be near authentic works of art. And I think the really interesting thing that's happening in museums is museums used to be temples. You go in, you get quiet. And now museums are very, very active. People are talking about things, moving around. And we've been trying to think, what does that mean about who the audience is in a museum and what kinds of things can go on there? Museums are changing. Yeah,
well, I beg to differ, though, Barry, because there are three places people like to be. Starbucks, your place.
And your show. And
the WNET studios here at Lincoln Center. I just had to do that. I'm sorry. Hey, come on, let's talk about this new exhibit right here. Foreclosed. Rehousing the American Dream. Bob Morris, you got this? Let me just put this up. You got that, guys? Talk about this exhibit, because it's when I was reading about it, I was thinking, they're doing what? It's about architecture, but it's about so much more.
Yeah.
Describe it.
You know, we have a huge shift in philosophy about what we want to do in architecture at MoMA, which is one of the oldest departments, one of the first museums to try to do the almost impossible thing, to bring architecture into the museum. You know, you can't put real buildings in the museum, so what are you showing people? So traditionally, you go into an architecture show, you're seeing a set of masterpieces. You're a little bit mystified. You say, somebody, some curator, I don't know, picked these buildings, told me they're masterpieces, told me I'm supposed to stand in front of them reverentially and think, this is great architecture. I don't know why, I haven't learned anything. We wanted to figure out a way that we can turn the museum into a platform for debate about architecture, get people engaged with architecture, but also make people understand the impact that architecture and design has on their everyday lives.
How does the exhibit do that? Give us an example.
We've taken one of the most pressing issues in this country today, the foreclosure crisis. You know, this literally hits home, and everyone is affected. If they themselves have not experienced foreclosure, it could be the house next door. It could be the fear of it. It could be the kind of mystery of what are these financial instruments. It could be watching the financial markets in your house and wondering, am I going to be in my house next week? And so we didn't really want to bring calamity into the museum, but we sort of thought, like I think it's Rahm Emanuel who likes the saying, an opportunity is too, catastrophe is too good of an opportunity to miss. We wanted to say this is actually a chance for us to think about how cities, and in particular suburbs, are built. What's the whole structure of the way things are made? It's not working, it's broken. So we're ready for a national debate about how we build our suburbs, how we live, how we go to work, what's the relationship between where we live, where we work, how we drive. We have an unsustainable model of suburbia, and we can talk about it.
Sorry for interrupting, Barry, 1 second. Let's bring it down to, it's great, that philosophical 25,000-foot level. Let's bring it down to 25 feet.
Okay.
You brought architects together.
Yes.
To do what?
You know, convened a group of architects. We asked them to put together their dream team.
Right.
Who would you like to work with? What kind of things would you like to think about? And they put together economists, legal specialists, community activists, environmentalists, ecologists, and made a dream team of the type of people they'd like to think about a hard architectural issue with. And then we gave them space at MoMA PS1, provided open studios where they could work, interact with one another, look at one another's projects, how others were trying to solve the similar issue. How could you restructure a town so that it was more economically, ecologically viable? But most importantly, we opened that former schoolhouse up to welcome the public in for open house days, to come in and talk to the architects, see how they're making decisions, and to understand that architecture is actually something about the structure of everyday life. It's not a kind of arrogant thing from on high that comes down and makes decisions behind closed doors, that you could get engaged with this process.
But in Cicero, Illinois, that was a case study in many ways. What did you do there?
In Cicero, Illinois, we had a team led by...
By the way, you know, Cicero, Illinois, famous for something else.
Famous for everything from Al Capone
I was just
to
gonna say
race
Al Capone.
riots. It's got a bad rep.
I'm embarrassed that I know for Al Capone, but
Right.
go ahead.
Well, we're trying to put Cicero on the map for other
For
reasons.
something better, go ahead.
So that was one of the 5 sites that we studied. It has a high rate of foreclosure. It has a high rate of suburban poverty. It has a great deal of publicly held land that could be developed. Who knows how, maybe with a public-private partnership with all of what that implies. And Jeannie Gang, who's a brilliant architect in Chicago. Jeannie Gang, she's a Chicago architect. She's very interested not only in building, but in landscape issues, how you can take polluted sites and, in a certain sense, reconceive them so they almost cure themselves, kind of redemptive, ecological landscape design. So she got these expertises, plus community activists. They went to Cicero. First thing they saw when they went bungalow to bungalow in Cicero was that all of the doorbells had been rewired. They began to understand that these one-story houses, supposedly one-family houses, had a really much more complex thing going on. That the people who the houses were built for and the people who live there now are not the same. And that was almost a metaphor for us of how we have a one-size-fits-all suburban model, when in fact we know from going out on the ground or from the latest 2010 census that suburbia is a place that is every bit as complex as our city centers.
What kind of reaction have you been getting to the exhibit?
Mixed.
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 Give me the downside.
We're touching home, so people say
You're also touching a nerve.
Yeah, we're touching.
Because you're saying the way we're doing it is not working,
exactly.
Which is obvious. But you tell people that, they get very uncomfortable.
People get
it's the American dream.
Exactly.
You're messing with the way it's supposed to be.
Exactly. And people don't like it if you say, we might have some better ideas for your house, and developers don't like it if we say there's another way to build. It might be more responsible, etc.
Ecologically and others, economically.
Our response is, this is a different moment than, let's say, the great modernist dream of tabula rasa. Everything that you're doing up until now is wrong.
Blank slate.
Yeah, we want to, in a sense, enlarge the palette of options. And we think that the museum is a perfect place to show people, oh, that might be an exciting way to live. That could be interesting. These aren't blueprints that we ask people to come up. We ask them to come up with new dream objects. And hopefully they inspire some imaginations. None of them are so fantastic that they couldn't be realized. These people all worked with economists, spreadsheets, the whole thing. If they wanted to change something in a housing situation that's illegal or financially unviable, they had to redesign the financial instruments and redesign the zoning code that would make it possible. So it's a very simultaneously dreaming exhibition, but also very nuts and bolts.
Barry Bergdoll, this is good stuff. The exhibit is called Foreclosed, Rehousing the American Dream, brought to you by MoMA. That's good stuff. And by the way, how long is the exhibit there?
The exhibit runs through the middle of August. August 13th it closes.
And by the way, folks, this show will be seen before that, after that as well. And go on the MoMA website, which is what?
www.moma.org.
That was easy enough.
Where the whole project is archived. You can go back, you can revisit the workshops, you can hear Secretary Donovan commenting on it, you can visit us with it. Barry,
appreciate it from MoMA. Great brand, but an even better place. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay right there. One-on-one will continue right after this from the Tisch WNET studios.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
You are looking at Tao Porchon-Lynch, and there must be a misprint here because it says she is a 93-year-old yoga instructor, turning 94 in August. She has been recognized as the world's oldest yoga instructor by the Guinness Book of World Records. That has to be a misprint, correct?
No, that I don't know why, really and truly.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I do believe in age.
Well, I have to ask you, there's so many things about you I find interesting. You've been teaching yoga for 45 years.
More than that, yes.
More than that?
Yes.
Other than the fact that you look fabulous and you're in great shape,
Yes.
what caused you to get into yoga?
Actually, when I was very young in India, I saw boys on the beach with a class on yoga. And I said, I want to join it. And my aunt said, no, it's not for ladies. And I said, well, if boys can do it, I can do it. So I just started when I was in Pondicherry. And then from Pondicherry, I saw some yoga people come in, and I worked with them. Then I was interested in what was I doing? Why am I on this earth? If I want to know more about myself and not just do postures. And so eventually I went to some of the masters. I went to Mysore and to see Pattabhi Jois, to see Mr. Iyengar.
These are very important people.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I can't say I know all the names of the people you're talking about.
Oh, those are three of the masters. And Indra Devi she died at 104. She did yoga.
We're in public broadcasting. I would consider them, I would say, the Bill Moyers of yoga. But that's the only way I can relate. But I want to ask you, what has yoga done for you?
I think it's opened up from my inside. You know that there's so much fear in the world. People are always telling you, don't do this, don't do that. They're always telling me what I can't do. And I don't believe that. I believe that inside of me is this power. Not somewhere out in space, but with every breath I take, I can have not only a visual, but an inside touching with the creation of life. And yoga has helped me come through a lot of things that people say, well, you won't be able to do this, you won't be able to do that. That's nonsense.
You had an underground experience. You've told our producers that yoga helps you stay calm.
It does.
And deal with fear. And there have been times that I've experienced anxiety, whether it's during this show or before a major speech. We feel anxiety, we feel nervousness.
Absolutely.
And you have said that yoga helps with our breathing and helps us stay calm. This underwater experience, describe it.
You mean, well, I've never been scared of anything, really.
Really?
No.
Because of yoga?
Because of yoga, but also in my life. I marched with Gandhi in 1938 and 39.
With Gandhi?
Yes. He taught me a few things because there were several of us. There was this wonderful man, woman, Dr. Wealthy Fisher, who started world education, who died also over 100 years old. She was there. There was Dr. Deshmukh, who was 19, illiterate, and became finance minister. And all of these things, and whatever Gandhi said, no fear, don't be scared. Not if you believe in something, do it. Don't procrastinate. Tomorrow never comes. Do it now, because it gets stale tomorrow and it gets more decay inside of you if you're worried about something. Something good will always come. I know my husband used to make fun of me and call me Pollyanna. And because if we had a calamity, he'd say, you always say something good is going to come of it. But it always does.
You believe that?
Absolutely.
Why do you say, Tao, that we recycle ourselves?
I look at nature. I think nature is incredible. As you look at the 4 seasons, you realize that actually it's almost advertising that we can do the same thing. It's now in full bloom, but less than 6 weeks ago, the trees all looked dead. Everything looked dead. The grass hadn't grown, nothing. But the grass grows up with a force. The first thing that came out with the trees was the blossoms. So you smelled the fragrance. Then you saw the leaves start come out. Now it's going in full bloom. When it gets a little tired, it will relax during the autumn. And then it will spring forth again. So it's telling me that within myself, don't be scared of it, but just open up your heart center, listen to your heart, listen to that wonderful thing that's inside of you, and you will recycle yourself. The doctor told me that I wouldn't be able to lift off the ground in lotus, so I sent him a photograph.
By the way, lotus is a certain position.
Yes. And I lift off the ground.
And by the way, this is the book. By the way, I'm still working on Downward Dog. This is Reflections, the Yogic Journey of Life, Tao Porchon-Lynch.
Yes.
And by the way, real 30 seconds, I have to ask you, 30 seconds left. You have taken up, after your 2003 hip replacement,
yes,
right? You've taken up ballroom dancing.
Yes, I'm going to.
Why do you love that?
I enjoy it because whereas yoga is the inner side, dancing is the spark. It's like champagne. It makes you lift up and feel happy.
Well, we are very happy that you're with us. Tao, you're terrific.
Thank you.
And we have a good feeling just by having you here.
Well, bless you. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I
stay right there. Just stay right there. I don't know. I just feel better because she's here. Hopefully you feel better just for watching. Thanks. We'll be right back from the Tisch WNET studios. Thank you.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
There he is, Adam Bryant, author of The Corner Office, Indispensable and Unexpected Lessons from CEOs on How to Lead and Succeed. Also, senior features editor, little newspaper called The New York Times. Good to see you, Adam.
Thanks, Steve.
I've been reading you for a lot of years.
It's great.
And enjoying your Corner Office column and learning from it. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you.
How the heck did you ever get into this whole thing? You always wanted to write?
Sure. I, started newspapers pretty often, did a detour through magazines, came back to the New York Times.
How'd the New York Times thing happen for you?
Right at the outset, do you mean? Or the Corner Office?
By the way, well, no, just being at the New York Times in and of itself, I always find fascinating.
Sure. No, I was working at a medium-sized paper in the Hudson Valley, and I found out about a freelance position in the Detroit bureau. So I was married at the time, 1-year-old. We loaded up the U-Haul. I took a pay cut, no benefits, went out to Detroit, was there for 6 months and got an offer from the Wall Street Journal, which gave me leverage to get hired by the Times. So took a chance and it paid off.
Interesting. The Corner Office, for those of you who don't know it, you can read Adam's stuff every Sunday in the New York Times. One of our friends and longtime underwriters, Annette Catino, you actually happened to feature her a few months back. A fascinating leader.
Yep.
Speaks her mind, let's just say. And again, one of those people who you can learn a lot from. I'm curious as to how the Corner Office column came about.
Sure, it's a great question. I was a business reporter for many years, had interviewed a lot of CEOs, and what dawned on me over time was that the business press almost always interviews CEOs as strategists. Essentially, what's the competitive landscape? How do you plan to zig while everybody else zags? But I just found the more time I spent with CEOs, the more I found myself just wanting to ask them, how do you do what you do? And then as I became a manager myself and discovered how hard it is, I also wanted to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? Because I think people have this notion of CEOs are born leaders, from the time they were in diapers, they knew how to do it. And I didn't really think that was quite accurate. So I thought if there was some way to get at the learning curve there too. So the very simple what if is, what if I sat down with CEOs and literally never asked them a single question about their company, their product, their strategy, and just asked them open-ended questions about, important leadership lessons. How do you hire? What questions do you ask? I always ask the CEOs that, and I keep hearing fascinating answers. I hear something different almost every week.
And again, talk about the learning part. For me, in your book, the one thing clipping your articles every week, and there's nothing like, I write for another paper, Star Ledger, a column on leadership and communication. There's nothing like someone saying, I clipped your article out and using it, and I'm sure you hear that a lot more. And turning it into this book has been great, because I told you I turned to a section here. I went, on getting ready for this show, I turned to the section called Be a Coach, Not a Critic. And I'm sure this isn't just about me, it's about all of us who are crazy enough to think we can lead and manage. And I said to you that short version is this: things go wrong in every organization, mistakes happen, and I wish I were more of a coach and less of a critic, meaning so quick to who screwed up, why did this happen, and I know all of our producers who are saying, they're shaking their heads right now or looking at each other, and they know what I'm talking about. Why is it that so many of us have such a hard time being more of that coach, and why do we come down so tough?
Well, I think managing people is hard. For the first thing, as a manager, you're responsible. So I think it's very easy to get frustrated, especially if something goes badly and we've got to fix this fast. But it does take a lot of patience and sort of mindfulness to remember that you are like the coach of a team. And it's not just somebody dropped a ball in a play, to use the sports metaphor. It's, what about the discussions beforehand? How do you prepare for the game? I think if managers take that approach, that they're a football coach or coach of any sports team, I think that kind of changes their perspective, because it's really about how do you make your individual players, employees better, and then how do you get everybody to work together as a team. And I think that approach is kind of rare, but I think it's also very clarifying and simplifies things.
It's interesting, you went through this, we talked about the 5 qualities, and there's so many more qualities, and it's more complicated. Maybe it's not, but you said 5 qualities. Passionate curiosity, give me 30 seconds on each. Passionate curiosity.
Basic, really engage with the world, curious about people, their backstories, how things work, how things can be made to work better. I like the phrase passionate curiosity because it's sort of greater than the sum of its parts. We've met people who are passionate, not very curious. People are curious, not necessarily passionate. But I do think that those 2 words kind of capture this quality that I saw in a lot of the CEOs I've interviewed.
And by the way, we're talking about, folks, qualities to succeed as a CEO, as a leader, and we're talking to Adam Bryant. You can catch his Corner Office column every Sunday in the New York Times. Battle-hardened confidence. What's the difference between battle-hardened confidence, Adam, and just I'm confident, bordering on cockiness? Right.
Well, the battle-hardened is key. That there's a track record here. You've faced down a lot of adversity. And you've developed this kind of track record of success. So you know what you're capable of, because at different times in our lives, we're all going to be put on the hot seat. And it's that quiet confidence. I've been in a situation like this before. I know I'll get through it. And that's the thing that really separates a lot of people. It's also, frankly, why hiring is so hard, because somebody might look great on paper. 6 months into the job, you give them a tough task, and they fold. Or some people rise to the occasion. And that's that quality that really gets at that sort of, I know I can get through this.
There's a big difference between people who are confident for absolutely no reason at all, I don't know why they're confident, versus battle-hardened confidence. How about this one? A simple mindset. Go.
Simple fact that essentially we all have worlds of data at our fingertips, courtesy of the internet. And I think it's a really key skill of CEOs to be able to simplify whatever the issue is down to 1 or 2 or 3 core ideas. You don't want a CEO standing up in front of their troops and saying, here's 15 things you have to remember, our key strategic objectives.
Big data dump.
Yeah, here's the 3 things that we're going to focus on this year, or 2. At moments like that, CEOs really earn their paycheck.
Let's pick one of these. Team smarts and fearlessness.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Team smarts is sort of the organizational equivalent of street smarts, and we all know what that is. Essentially, you know where the soft levers of power are. You know who to talk to get things done. You understand the sort of connective tissue of politics of an organization. It also means just having good antenna for body language, reading people, team dynamics in meetings. And finally, fearlessness, sort of as it implies, just having that approach to your career. I've interviewed a lot of CEOs who had pretty prominent positions, but took lateral moves, even a demotion to get experience that they thought would really help them over time. You know, you talk to these CEOs and they really, there's this reverence in their voice when they talk about employees who have a bias towards action, not recklessness, but let's do something. Let's innovate, let's take some risks, and they wish they could bottle that and pass it around.
30 seconds. How much do you love what you do?
The corner office is great. I've interviewed close to 200 CEOs. They're interesting people. They always have such fascinating insights. It's a different side of them that I've really gotten to experience, and so I always look forward to the conversations.
You know, I look forward to this all the time too. People say, "Hey, you talk to this different people, but you ask similar questions. You're not getting the same stuff back. You're not getting the same stuff, right?"
Right. Exactly.
Listen, the name of the book is The Corner Office: Indispensable and Unexpected Lessons from CEOs on How to Lead and Succeed. The author is Adam Bryant. It's good stuff. Check it out every Sunday in the New York Times. You know that newspaper, The Gray Lady. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
This was fun.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Adler Aphasia Center, empowering, enhancing, and enriching the lives of people with aphasia and their families. The Russell Berry Foundation, Fedway Associates, Inc., J.H. Cohn, Accountants and Consultants. We turn expertise into results. And by PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and northjersey.com. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.
Education reform is too important to get wrong. That's why NJEA's plan establishes a strong evaluation process that identifies excellent teachers, removes ineffective ones, and ensures hiring and firing is based on performance, not politics or standardized tests that are unfair to students and teachers. We all want the best teachers in every classroom, because when it comes to education reform, NJEA believes students come first. NJEA, great public schools for every child.
I'm Steve Adubato. Join me for the next edition of CAUCUS New Jersey: Taxes, Healthcare, Education, and the Economy. I'll ask the questions that you want answered.
Airing on NJTV, 13, and WHYY. Check your local listings.